The 80s gave us Blade Runner, Aliens, and The Empire Strikes Back. But that's not what this video's about. This is about the other stuff. The one where a guy gets shrunk and injected into Martin Short. The one where Dennis Quaid kills people in their dreams. The one with arcade games recruiting kids to fight in real space wars. These are the sci-fi movies the 80s buried, and they're way better than you remember. Let's start with The Abyss. James Cameron went full underwater sci-fi adventure for this one, and it shows. It's about a deep-sea diving crew that finds something not human sitting on the ocean floor. Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio play this divorced couple who basically have to team up while everything's going sideways, including aliens, flooding, and a military guy losing his mind. The effects were next level for the time, especially the water tentacle thing. That liquid creature, it was basically a dry run for the T-1000 in Terminator 2. Cameron was already thinking 10 steps ahead. But even with all that, The Abyss didn't hit at the box office. It got buried under bad marketing and the fact that people had no idea what it actually was. A love story? A military thriller? A sci-fi alien thing? Kinda all of them. The studio also trimmed it down hard, which didn't help. But the special edition later fixed that. It added back a ton of cut material, especially about the aliens and the global tension subplot, and that version actually makes the movie click. Now this one's surprising. Starman, directed by John Carpenter. Yeah, the Halloween guy made a sci-fi romance, and it actually rules. Jeff Bridges plays an alien who crash lands on Earth and takes the form of a woman's dead husband. Karen Allen plays the widow. And yeah, it gets awkward fast, but what starts off weird turns into this really solid road trip love story with the government chasing them the whole time. Bridges is incredible in this. He's not playing it like a normal human. He's got these weird tics and speech patterns like an alien just figuring out how to work a body. It's subtle and funny without ever turning into a joke. He actually got an Oscar nomination for it. It's probably Carpenter's most emotional film. Not scary, not gory, just kind of sweet, but it still has that outsider energy he's known for. And even though it was way different from what people expected, it ended up being a quiet hit. The Last Starfighter is one of those movies that sounds kind of dumb on paper, but ends up being weirdly charming. A teenager plays an arcade game, beats the high score, and finds out the game is actually a test. Turns out he's now been recruited by aliens to fight in a real space war. Total 80s logic, and it works. It's often called a Star Wars knockoff, but it's not really trying to be Star Wars. It's more like Tron meets a Saturday morning cartoon. The CGI space battles were groundbreaking back then, even if they look janky now. And there's just something lovable about the whole thing. Robert Preston absolutely steals the show as the alien pretending to be a used car salesman / video game talent scout. The movie didn't blow up at the box office, but it hit home video hard and became one of those go-to comfort rewatches for 80s kids. It's goofy, it's earnest, and it absolutely owns what it is. This one starts like a romantic comedy. Guy meets girl, they hit it off. Then he answers a random ringing payphone outside a diner and hears someone screaming about a nuclear war starting in less than an hour. Then gunshots, then dial tone. From there, it immediately shifts into panic mode. No warning. 1 second it's cute, the next it's the end of the world. The movie had a tiny budget, like $4 million, but it absolutely delivers on the tension. The whole thing takes place over just a few hours, and you follow this one guy trying to get back to the girl he just met, while the whole city slowly starts unraveling. When it dropped, barely anyone saw it. It didn't get a wide release and kind of vanished, but over time it became a cult classic, especially for people who like that slow burn, one-night apocalyptic vibe. Think After Hours meets Threads, but with a killer synth score. A comet passes by Earth, everyone watches, and by the next morning, almost everyone's gone. Like clothes on the sidewalk, red sky, completely empty streets. Turns out, the comet wiped out most of humanity, and whoever didn't turn to dust either became a zombie or went insane. The lead is Reggie, Works at a movie theater, plays arcade games, not overly concerned about anything. Until the world ends, of course. She and her younger sister Sam team up, raid abandoned malls, and fight off creepy scientists. It's got that classic 80s post-apocalypse vibe, but with a totally different tone. It's light, funny, kind of weirdly hopeful, and the two sisters carry the whole movie. For a film made on just $700,000, it punches way above its weight. Director Tom Eberhardt makes Los Angeles feel totally abandoned, which is not easy to do. Making a sequel to Kubrick's Space Odyssey was a bold move. A lot of people thought it was going to be a disaster. And let's be real, 2010 doesn't come close to Kubrick's original. But you know what? It actually works on its own terms. Peter Hyams directed this one and also adapted the script from Arthur C. Clarke's sequel novel. The movie follows a joint US-Soviet mission to Jupiter to figure out what the hell happened to the Discovery 1 mission. It's less mysterious, more talky, more Cold War, but still solid. Roy Scheider plays Heywood Floyd, and the cast is strong across the board. The visuals are surprisingly great. The shot of Jupiter alone is worth it. There's a lot of big themes here about global cooperation and first contact, but it's wrapped in a more conventional sci-fi format than Space Odyssey. This was originally supposed to be more of a serious spy thriller, but once Joe Dante came on board, the whole thing got reworked into something more playful and weird. Honestly, that probably saved it. Innerspace is what happens when you take a Cold War spy movie, shrink a guy down to the size of a cell, and inject him into Martin Short's bloodstream. Dennis Quaid plays a cocky pilot who signs up for a miniaturization experiment and, thanks to a screw-up, ends up inside an unsuspecting grocery clerk played by Martin Short. From there, it turns into a mix of sci-fi, slapstick, and full-on chaos. The effects are awesome. Industrial Light and Magic crushed it. They even won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects. And the cast is great. Quaid is charming, Short is totally unhinged in the best way, and Meg Ryan shows up too, because it's the 80s, and of course she does. Dreamscape was Joseph Rubin's first shot at sci-fi, and it holds up better than most people remember. Dennis Quaid again here because apparently he had sci-fi on lock that year. He plays a psychic who gets pulled into a secret government program where people can enter other people's dreams. At first it's experimental, but then it gets darker, like full-blown assassination via nightmare level dark. They want to kill the president by manipulating his dreams. This came out a few months before A Nightmare on Elm Street, and it has similar dream logic horror vibes. Some of the nightmare sequences are straight up freaky. One of them has a psychic villain turning into a snake man, and it's actually creepy even now. You've got sci-fi, horror, government paranoia, political thriller, all jammed into one movie. It's messy in a fun way and way more intense than it looks at first glance. This was definitely the kind of movie that freaked out parents if they caught you watching it too young. You know you're in the 80s when a movie has a kid who turns out to be a government-built robot. It starts off like a sweet family movie, kid with amnesia, loving foster parents, baseball games, but then it flips into full sci-fi action mode once the military shows up and wants their experiment back. D.A.R.Y.L can hack computers, outrun cops, and even pull off insane driving stunts, all while looking like your average middle schooler. What's cool is that it feels like a kid's movie, but there's actually some heavy stuff going on. It asks whether a robot can be a real person, what makes someone human, and how far the government's willing to go when their experiment starts thinking for itself. Trancers is classic low-budget sci-fi from Charles Band, and somehow it fits a lot into just 76 minutes. Tim Thomerson plays Jack Death, a cop from the 23rd century who's chasing a criminal named Martin Whistler. The twist? Jack has to go back in time by taking over the body of his own ancestor, and ends up in 1980s Los Angeles. Once he's there, the movie bounces between time travel cop drama, romance, Helen Hunt shows up as love interest, and even some light horror, with Whistler turning people into zombie-like trancers using his psychic powers. The effects are what you'd expect for the budget, but the movie knows what it is. Thomerson plays it totally straight, which somehow makes it work even better. It was popular enough to spawn 5 sequels, though Thomerson tapped out after number 5.